Ladies and gentlemen, good evening. Tonight we're going to look at JavaFX, and this is an introduction to JavaFX and how to get an application up and running. I will create a series of how to create an application, a JavaFX application with Java. The first thing we need is actually a Java version that supports and contains JavaFX, because that is actually not just like that per default. So what I did actually, I read about the different Java distributions, and then I went to my SDK man. I'm running Ubuntu, so I went to SDK man, and then I ran list Java, and then I have read that if I use this librca from Bellsoft, then JavaFX would actually be included, because in the default Open JDK there was no the JavaFX library is not included, and that meant that I had to add some other dependencies, and I had to add JavaFX explicitly. So to make this work, I set the default version to this version right here, and that is the one I'm using in my project. So let me just check. Like that. So let's get started. So first of all, I installed that version of Java, and after that it actually went pretty well. Then I created a new project by pressing File, New Projects, File, New Project up here. And then I chose Java. I actually selected Gradle. I created a Gradle project, and then I selected Java like that, and then I pressed next, finish, because when I have and of course then I chose my librca version instead. Then I pressed next, finish, and then I ended up with this project right here. Then I made sure that I'm using the latest Gradle version, which is 6.4.1 right now. And you can check that if you go to your Gradle library, your Gradle folder, then you can actually go see, and you can see that this is the distribution that is currently used. So far so good. And then the first thing I did in my build.gradle file was actually to add Lombok, because then I can have all the annotations from Lombok, and I enabled annotation processing in the project. So that's a lot of things, I know that. And because I am an old string developer, so I actually I prefer to wrap all my stuff inside classes and components. So I started doing that. But before I will show that, then I will show you this drawing that I actually prepared. When we're dealing with JavaFX, then we have something called a stage. The stage, that is the window, that is the primary window. Or you can actually create more stages, of course, but that is the window. So when you hear something about stage, then just think about the window. Inside the window, then we have something called the scene. The scene consists of one root layout or one pane. Inside that layout or pane, you can have more panes and layouts, and inside all of those layouts and panes you can have controls like buttons and labels, checkboxes, lists, etc., tables, so that is how it's built up. And then the point is, and the purpose is that then we should be able to take, if we want to change the content of a stage, then we could actually take one scene, and then we could remove that, and then we can actually put in a new scene, which then shows some other context. So that would be the default way of actually changing, changing the scenes and to changing the Windows content. So we have one stage. Think about that, just like in a theater, you have a stage, then you have a scene, and then suddenly everything goes dark, and then there's a lot of people that moves around stuff on the stage, and then suddenly you have a new scene with a new story to be told, right? So that is the FX that is the FX way. Let me go back to my application, because then I actually created this application right here, Spaceship FX Application. And what we need to do is we need to extend application, and that is the JavaFX application. And then we need to override this start method right here, and here we get the primary stage, and that is why it's important to know what a stage is. It is just this is a primary window. So we have one stage right here. And then the first thing I always do is to set the title, so that I can see in the top what kind of application are we dealing with right here. And then the next thing is that I set a scene, and then I'm showing the stage. So that is when the light goes on stage. Now we can see the stage. It's all really cool, and this is the scene right here. If you are looking at other JavaFX tutorials, then you will see a lot of code in the start here, and people are just writing, they're adding all the controls and all that inside this one method right here. I don't like that. I like to hide away all the stuff. I like object-oriented programming, so I like to create a new spaceship overview scene, which we have right here. And then I like that I have everything I need inside my scene. So right now here, this is my scene, and then inside the scene, it actually creates a new instance of itself and called super, and it needs some kind of root layout per default. And then I've created this layout also as a new. You can see here it's a new class that extends the VBox, and that is there are different layouts. We will go into that in another video, but there are different layouts. The VBox, that is the virtual box. That means that all the controls that we're adding, they will be arranged vertically. So if I first have one label, then and add that, then the label will be placed first, and then if I place a button, then there will be some spacing defined here, and there will also be some padding defined right here. And here I'm adding my label and my button, and then there will be this spacing between them, and then we can actually see the layout. I've set a minimum height and a minimum width also, so we have a little bit of application that starts up, or else it starts up very, very small. So with the minimum size, so we almost can't see the controls, or we can just see the controls. That's how it will actually set it up. I like the lazy loading programming style, and that is actually how we could coded Swing in the old days. Then we used lazy loading, at least the place that I worked, or the places that I worked. And the trick is here that I'm creating my controls in the top like this. I have a button, I have a label right here. I set them to null to begin with. And then when I get this is a default way of adding children to the layout. Then you set get children, and then you say add, and then get label. And then if you go and look at the get label method right here, because this is lazy loading, then it asks, is the label null? Yes, it is. It is null. So go create the label right here. I will say cool button that way, and then parentheses next line. And then I'll set an event listener set on mouse clicked, and because we now can use lambdas, then this is pretty easy, but it is actually an event handler we need to give right here. And remember, a lambda is an implementation of an interface with one method, and if we go and look inside the event handler, then that is exactly what this event handler is. It's just an interface with precisely one method. So we can create a lambda instead, and we can see here we have a mouse event. So that's what I have right here, mouse event. And if I want to, then I can. Now I'm just in print rounding out label clicked. I can actually use something from the click event if I want to. I think I can get. Can I get which button it is? Get button. Get button. Can I get if it's left? I haven't tried that. Maybe yeah. Let us see what happens now. Plus get button. Let us check that. Then I'm returning the label in the end. This is called lazy loading. I'm doing the same with the button right here. The button is null. Yes, it is. So create a new button. Press this button to write some stuff in the console. Yes. And then we set an action listener, or it's actually called an event handler when we're dealing with. No, it's actually an action event. Oh yeah, but it's an event handler with the type action event. So it is event handlers when we're dealing with JavaFX. If you know something to Swing, then it was actions instead. So this is my VBox. This is my layout I have right here. And that's then I had the scene right here that added the layout, the pane, and then I have my application right here that set the title and set a scene, which was just a new instance of the spaceship overview scene. I like this way because now I'm hiding away all the code. I'm putting it away into the layout managers underneath, or onto the layouts that's underneath, into the scene and into the pane. One thing that I actually tried, because the first thing I actually tried was then I did not want this code right here, this public static void main here. I did not like that. I would actually like to have some kind of launcher out here. Then I would actually like to launch the space application like that, but that is actually not possible. Then we will get an exception, and this was I just wanted to print out my arguments. Let us try to run this as a program, then we will get an error. It's just, then look right here. And it will actually check that my application is not a subclass of JavaFX application. So that is unfortunately not possible, but that's okay. Let me just delete my application class, and then if I go to the spaceship FX application instead, then I can create my static void main in here, and then I can call launch, and then it actually launches. Started, and we can also add one more. Ended or done. Done. Begin or end? Yes, begin and end. Like that. Let us start the application. I've talked enough now. I know. We start the application, run. And here we have the application. Cool button that way. Look at the next line. Press this button to write some stuff. And we can also see in the console we have begin down here. Let me press cool button. Label clicked, primary. Then I try to right click. Label click secondary. So we can see which button we actually pressed by adding the event and then get button. Then let me try to press the button. That is the mouse button I was talking about here. So that is the left mouse button, left mouse button, right mouse button, middle mouse button. Nothing happens there. Okay, right. But that's the primary and secondary. And then if I press the button control right there, then I get button clicked, button clicked, button clicked. So the application works. And I think this is what I wanted to go through to begin with, because now you can clone this project yourself, and then you can actually prepare and start up and have this project up and running yourself. And then we will go into some more details later on about some more advanced paints and layouts also, of course. Thank you very much for watching, and I hope to see you again soon. Bye bye.